You ever one of those days where you're just seemingly always running behind the clock? That's how my day has gone so far this Sunday. Started off by having to fly across country. The connecting flight was weather delayed. I'm sitting there on the tarmac going, am I the only guy in a rush here that has to hurry up and get home and shoot a video report and talk about the NFL? Well, apparently so, because it didn't get me here any faster. So anyway, here's the deal. I've got 2 free selections coming up in just a second, and I'm going to take a look at the big marquee games today. Steelers, Bengals, and Broncos and Packers. Bottom line, it's been a dog of a season in terms of the NFL. Underdogs last week going 7-6-1, thanks to Baltimore's incredible backdoor cover on Monday night. Dogs went 10-4 the previous week. So for the season, the underdogs are 54, 45, and 7, with 37 of those underdogs winning outright. And the reason I point that out, if you happen to be late to the dance, as I pointed out to you earlier in the season, I've noticed a trend over the past couple of years where when the underdogs cover, they not only cover, but more often than not, they win the game outright. And my theory is this: if you love an underdog, and you think they have a chance to win the game outright, why not make a smaller money line wager if the price is certainly accommodating on that puppy as well? Because again, 54 underdogs have covered this season. 37 of those underdogs have won outright. Now, that's not to say you bet money on a money line play, a smaller wager on every single puppy, but it's just something you have to consider. And it's something that I've noticed, as I said, a trend over the past 2 or 3 years. So I figured I'd go ahead and follow up throughout the season for you each and every week. Listen, guys, today, the big play is from Brad Wilton. And again, it's the half price play of the day. This is a guy who has made $10 bettors over the past 38 days, $23,420. And over the past 3.5 months, close to $35,000. Today, first ever 300 dime play of his career in any sport, a career that started right when he won the 2013 Super Bowl here when he joined the site. First ever 300 dime play. It's his NFC game of the year, Seattle and Dallas. Now, he won his first ever 250 dime NFL release back in week number 5 when he had the Browns outright at Baltimore as a 6-point dog. Cleveland won it in overtime. He's 4-0 this season with NFL 200 dime plays. He's 3-0 this season with NFL 100 dime plays. He's built up a huge bankroll, and as I always say, if you don't take shots when you accumulate that type of sizable bankroll, what the hell are you doing? It's called gambling. You got to press the action. The guy's on a roll. And again, it's the half price play of the day simply by using coupon code 300DIMES, 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 as he goes for winning day number 29 out of 39 for Brad Wilton. The other big play I just want to make you quickly aware of, Anthony Redd. Normally 100 dime play is his top rated selection. Today, second time since he joined this site back in March of 2009, he has 150 dime play in the NFL. It's your Sunday night game. Packers, Broncos side. Had his third ever 150 dime play in college football 2 Saturdays ago. Tennessee plus 15 points, cashing in with the 1914 cover at Alabama and a loss, but a win in terms of what we're caring about. Today he's going for winning day number 22 out of 34. Second ever 150 dime NFL play of his career. Marquee game. You save $70 by using coupon code RED150. Now that's REDD 150, REDD 150. All your other coupons, etc., are over on the homepage. Listen, if I can talk about the winners, I got to talk about the losers. And yesterday was not a great day for the guys that had discounted plays. Matt Rivers, coming off that big blank check college game of the year winner on Thursday night with TCU, failed with Memphis last night. Memphis dug themselves a 13-0 hole at home, which, I saw Memphis play at South Florida a couple weeks ago, and this team just comes out, slow starter. Defensively, they're not that good of a team at all. Sure, they scored the next 41 points, but when you're laying 31 points, it doesn't help when you score and don't cover the game. So he loses that game, and Steve Buden's Cali Cartel, which had been 5-1-1 or 6-1, depending on one particular game, Stanford against Washington 2 Saturdays ago. Over the previous 2 weeks, they had their first 100 dime play of the season yesterday. Not even close. Appalachian State was lucky to win as a 23.5 point favorite at home against Troy State. So Again, I always feel it's important to talk about both the winners and the losers. Yesterday, I only hit one of my three complimentary plays, but I'm still 6-2 with them since Tuesday's card. And I'm just looking here at the site. My overall record with complimentary plays, I don't have all this memorized, guys. 126-89 over the past 111 days. Not a bad 3.5-month run with the plays that I've been giving away. So today, let's talk about the first complimentary play. It's far from a marquee matchup, but I'm going to take a look at the Texans and the Titans game. I think this is a great spot to jump on the Houston Texans. The fact that they lost Arian Foster last week at Miami doesn't mean anything to me because, listen, I had a 15-dime best bet on Miami last week, okay? You know the deal. They were up 147 points at halftime, and they rolled to the win. And I pointed out in my analysis that Foster wasn't healthy and he wasn't contributing much anyway, that this is a team that doesn't have many offensive weapons. It's basically Brian Hoyer and DeAndre Hopkins. Well, listen, they're back at home here. And they're taking on a Tennessee team that has even fewer offensive weapons. Marcus Mariota is out. Zach Mettenberger is going to get the start here. He was 22 for 35 for 187 yards in Tennessee's 10-7 loss at home to Atlanta last week. I think that's an anomaly. I mean, I think that particular game, the Falcons just didn't play well. And that's the only reason the Titans were able to hang around in that contest. You know, Mettenberger is making his 8th career start. Titans have never won any of his starts. Houston is laying 3.5 to 4 points in this particular game. I think this is a great spot to go ahead and take the Houston Texans. Again, they've lost 5 in a row. They've lost 19 of their last 22. They're 1-15 straight up in AFC South action since their last victory. 1-15, I can't see backing them as a road puppy. I think the Texans have the potential to put some points on the board. We saw that a couple of weeks ago at home against the Colts. Their defense isn't that good, but I just don't think Tennessee's going to be able to score. So I'm going to go with Houston as your one free play. Your other free play, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints. I'm willing to take a flyer on the Saints here, who certainly played well. If you throw out that disastrous performance at Philadelphia, they have won 3 of their last 4 games. So I'm going to go with New Orleans today. They're -3. I'm obviously going to buy down the half point if that line crosses 3. So if it's 3, 3.5, 4, I'm buying down on New Orleans in this game. I was impressed with the way that they went to Indianapolis and jumped all over the Colts, who I don't think are a very good team anyway, but they took a 27-0 lead on the road. Then they had to hang on for dear life to win that game 27-21. Remember 2 Thursdays ago? I certainly do. Had a monster play on the Falcons that night, who were 5-0, and they dominated the Falcons at home 31-21 in that one. Also beat the Cowboys in their previous home game 26-20 in that Sunday night game. That night, I was on the Saints. So 3-1 in their last 4 overall. But what I really like about what the Saints have been doing offensively here, we know all about Drew Brees, we know about the passing attack, etc. I like the fact that they're trying to establish the run, and no matter what, they're doing it too. Mark Ingram, 143 yards last week at Indianapolis. And, this is a Saints team that ran the ball 32 times against the Falcons. It ran the ball 36 times and produced 183 yards against the Colts. That's what they need to do at this stage with their offense to make Drew Brees even more potent. And they've done a good job at it. Now, the Giants have no pass rush. No pass rush, okay? It's lousy. I think they have 9 sacks on the season. They're not particularly adept at stopping the run either. Now, the Saints' defense has been dreadful. But the last 2 weeks, they've generated 9 sacks. I don't think that's going to come into play today because Eli Manning, with that quick release offensive line that's only allowed them to be sacked, I think, 9 times on the season, I don't think the Saints are going to be able to get to Eli Manning. But I just don't like the rest of the Giants' offense. I mean, other than Manning to Odell Beckham Jr., what do they have? They don't run the ball effectively. They don't have any other playmakers other than Beckham. I just think this is a good spot to go ahead and take the Saints at home. Could be a high-scoring game as well. I mean, I could certainly see the over here. And you look at what the Giants have done lately. You know about all their fourth-quarter collapses and comebacks, okay? But 2 weeks ago, they go to Philadelphia. They were dreadful in that 27-7 loss. It's not that the Eagles played that well. Last week, did they win that game at home against the Giants, if not for Matt Castle's 3 interceptions, one of which was a pick 6, and they also got a special teams touchdown? I don't think so. So, again, I'm willing to go ahead and take the Saints in this one. Now, a couple of opinions here. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. This has been a series and has been dominated by the Steelers. I mean, that's the bottom line. Mike Tomlin is 12-4 against the Bengals in his career. You got a Bengals team that's undefeated, a Bengals team that has showed offensive diversity with Andy Dalton off to a great start, leading the NFL in terms of his passer rating, 116.1, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the season. He's gotten great offensive line protection. He's getting great offensive production from his backfield, Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill. But as I always say involving the Bengals, do you want to put money on Andy Dalton in a big game? I did earlier this season against the Seattle Seahawks. Remember that home game? They had to rally from a 17-point deficit in the fourth quarter to force overtime to eventually win it and get the cover. That's the type of game that bothers me with the Bengals. Big games, Bengals, bad performances, Andy Dalton. Big game today against the Steelers. Listen, Steelers are already buried themselves because of all the injuries. They get Ben Roethlisberger back. If they want to even stay in the wild card race, they've got to win this damn game. This is going to be the first time that Roethlisberger, Bell, and the 2 receivers, Brown and Bryant, the 4 big playmakers for the Steelers, have been on the field together since their Week 17 game last year against these same Cincinnati Bengals. Steelers won that one 27-17. Listen, the Steelers are certainly deficient against the pass. They're good at stopping the run. They can't stop the pass, okay? And the Bengals, when they have played other teams like that this season, I'm thinking about Baltimore and Buffalo and Kansas City, all teams in that top 10 run defenses, well, the Bengals shredded them through the air, and they averaged 33 points in those 3 games against those 3 foes. So I look at this game. I don't see the Steelers putting much pressure on Dalton. I don't see the Steelers with that banged-up secondary having much success stopping A.J. Green. But at the same time, I think with Roethlisberger back, with all the offensive weaponry they have, I think the way to go in this game, I think the Steelers can actually win it. But I think another consideration would be to take the over in the contest as well. I mean, you're looking at 48.5 points. So if you put my back to the wall, I would say the Steelers, but I'm a Pittsburgh fan, and maybe the over in that contest. But again, I think that's one of those marquee games that you're better off watching as a fan. Seriously. The marquee games are always the toughest ones to win. That's why college football on a Saturday, it's such a wonderful thing. I mean, you look at all the big games yesterday. My best bet yesterday was Houston, an 11-point favorite at home against Vanderbilt. Far from a marquee game, an obscure game for damn sure. But it was an easy win, 34-0. That's the luxury you have on a college football card with 60 games to choose from. The NFL card, obviously much harder. That's why I think this is a game that you should just stay away from. Same thing with the Sunday night game. Listen, I'm enthused about watching the Packers-Broncos tonight. I mean, you got undefeated teams. You got 2 classic Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I don't know which way to go. I mean, Green Bay, a 3-point favorite at Denver, and Denver undefeated. I mean, if this was Peyton Manning of 3 years ago, maybe I'd side with the Broncos. But I also know that this is an Aaron Rodgers-led team that in their 2 previous road games this season just barely got by at San Francisco. Had to rally, and their defense was just shredded by Matt Forte and the Bears in Chicago. You got 2 teams coming off a bye. You have a Denver defense that is so good at putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks with DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller. You got a Packers team with Aaron Rodgers, who's so mobile when he's healthy in the backfield. You got a Packers team that really hasn't been able to establish the ground game this season going against a Denver team that stops the run. You've got a Green Bay team that it can get to opposing quarterbacks just as good as the Broncos against Peyton Manning, who's shown that he can't throw deep, his accuracy is down, and his interceptions are up. I don't know which way to go. I mean, is it a trap that the Packers are a 3-point favorite on the road in this game? Is this the game that Peyton Manning suddenly says, hey, guys, remember that game against Kansas City in week number 2? I can still throw the ball when I need to, or when Gary Kubiak, my head coach, allows me to because his offensive system is just so foreign to me. Is this the game that Manning responds? I don't know. Listen, Anthony Red has the big play on the game, okay, not me. I just think it's an interesting game. I lean a little toward the Packers because at this stage in their careers, obviously, I would rather have my money on Aaron Rodgers than Peyton Manning. But again, just like the Steelers-Bengals, it's a real damn tough game to handicap and to figure out a winner. So your official complimentary plays, once again, are going to be the Saints. I'd buy down the half point. on them. I'd also go with the Texans. And in that game, the line's 4.5 points. I would absolutely buy down the half point on the Texans as well. As you know, I always like to buy down the number when the line crosses 3, 4, 7, and sometimes 10. That'll do it, guys. Best of luck to you all, and I'll catch you again tomorrow when we do this one more time.